Hello, my friends. Welcome to your seat table. I'm Rick, and we got a Grand White Mama laying off to my left here. We're looking at Volume 2 of Native American Nations. This, of course, like Volume 1, comes in two parts. The first half is a ready-to-run adventure and set in the Nan Nations and having something related to them. And the second part, of course, is more information on the Native American nations. And so I really don't want to bog myself down in the adventure itself. I mean, that's something we could come back at a different point maybe and do. We have the Eye of the Eagle being the adventure. First strike of prologue, right? So, let's take just a brief gamber. Where is it? Where is it? All right, change glasses. The government of the Tsimshian Nation has always opposed the has always oppressed the members of two of the major tribes, the Halda and the Kawakuki Kuluku. Not surprising, a resistance network formed to fight this oppression. The Senators Network was a group calling itself the Haiti National Front, or the HNF. At first, the HNF fought oppression by peaceful means, conducting political campaign against the government. Against the wishes of its founder, however, it soon became involved in acts of terrorism against the government, bombing Taoshan police force facilities, industrial institution or installations, and the like, etc., etc. Right, so you get the gist. All right, so we'll go take a look at the actual Native American nation. Introduction. Once again, welcome to the online version of Debt Checker's premiere on the Native American Nations Volume 2. This volume serves as a guide to understand the traditions, economy, laws, and people, and other aspects of the Algonkian-Manitoo Council and the Athabascan Council, the Trans-Polar Aleut Nation, and the Tsimshian Nation. As with all those volumes in Jan Checker's premier series, the book supplements and expands on the tribal lands information, including both senior high and university preparation level courses. Right, blah, blah, blah. So, and as with all of Dan Checker's premier, remember, that's the thing about almost all Shadowrun books. You're going to have this slew of commentary that was inserted by various hackers and or people of interest. So, think of it that way. As with all your Dan Checker's Premier series, my considerable advice that you trust the information contained herein about as far as you can spit a rat. Good old Dr. Dan Checker, friends of millions of lazy students, why read the original reference works? Why attend classes? When you can absorb it all from a completely pre-digested form from the lips of kindly Dr. Dan Checker. Blah, blah, blah. All that goes on and on and on. What the hell? And that was commented by Captain Chaos, Northwest Neo Arcanist, yeah, Arcanist League. Blah. And then it comes down here. Okay, if you scan volume 1 of this thing, you'll recognize the above is basically the same comments one made there. Hey, if still relevant, you haven't scanned volume 1, give it a try. Just full entertaining, wrong thinking direct about the present opus. Enjoy, boys and girls, from Captain Chaos. So we get the general history of the Nan, how they were formed, how they reacted. Then we move to the Algonquin-Manitoo Council. The Algonkian-Manitoo Council land comprises much of once was western and central Canada. Spring and fall are considered by far the most pleasant times to visit the region. During the summer, temperatures are generally comfortable around 32 degrees Celsius. Western portions of the council enjoy dry heat characteristic of prairie, but its eastern regions suffer severe humidity, which combines with the high temperatures to create an almost unbearable weather. The northern reaches accounts are plagued by hordes of black flies and other nuisance insects when the temperature soars. And then it says here, sometimes they're more than a nuisance. Reports say that some of the nasty little bloodsuckers carry a vitis-like viral infections that probably exist exclusively in the northern regions, however. Dan the man. Winter temperatures, access, automobile, plane, train, and automobile history and culture. Tribe and perspective, the Manitou considered relatively large, blah, blah, blah. It says, more than threatened, Dan Chammer. You're talking about the Manitou Brotherhood, a real radical group of anti-technologists who respond to inappropriate technology by blowing the dreck out of it. They bombed a GMC plant last year, killed 15 workers. They hit a Litton Industries plant in January because they heard the company was put out a guidance module for long-range TAC nukes. What makes it worse is that they were wrong. Wahoo Murphy. The group that bombed the Lytton Industries facility was not officially part of the Brotherhood. They called themselves the Squamish Five to consummate a similar action carried out some 70 years ago. Although the members of the Five may consider themselves members of the Manitou Brotherhood, repudiate God, I can't pronounce certain words, and I hate it. The Lytton facility was non-polluting, therefore not directly harmful to the land. The Manitoo Brotherhood's wrath is directed at such polluters as the GMC manufacturing plant that poured millions of liters of poison into our lakes and rivers. The Manitou Eagle, Neo-Ludites, technocrat. Formation of that blah blah goes on. Elves have felt uneasy and unwelcome to change. The Urds are out the left tribal bands warning the country's tribalist lost ones. And you got the economy. The Algonkian-Manitoo Council operates on a light to medium level industrial economy. Right? Saskatchewan and Grand Rapids, formerly of Michigan, are the industrial centers of that nation. The factories turning out a line of low-level cars and other low technology items. We get a breakdown of the cost of living with the Algonkian-Manitoo laws, immigration, government, civil and tribal laws, international relations, general comments. Great, you got some interesting, it's some plus and interesting stuff in there. Then we move on to the Athabascan Council. Yeah, much of once was once Alaska and the Yukon, as well as some of the northern British Columbia and the Northwest Territories, now make up the Athabascan Council. Summer is unidentifiably the tourist season on the coast. Daytime temperatures, blah blah. Winter temperatures, access plane trades, and automobiles. Oh, excuse me. Is sea plane trains and automobiles and ships. Tribal demographics, breaking it down, the Aleut, the Inuit, the Kanyakan, the Yellowknife, the Chillicotun, and the Dean. History and culture, a tribe perspective, the Dean. The Dean tribe, the name is pronounced Dene, or Dene, is an ancient word meaning people. It is located in what was called the Mackenzie district of the Northwest Territories. The district follows the course of the Mackenzie River, including both the Great Bear and Great Slave Lakes. Before the arrival of European settlers, the Dean shared the hunter-gatherer lifestyle with other tribes in the Athabascan region when the blah blah, right? The economy, cost of living, much more commentary. Laws and immigration, the government, civil and tribal laws, international relations, general comments. The Azkaban standard of living is slightly lower than that of the Algonkian-Manitoo Council, but the government's coffers are considerably fuller. The state affairs allow the council to offer range of health and welfare services as the envy of many North American nations. Excuse me. The government subsidizes the universal health care insurance, and the welfare and unemployment insurance programs are well funded. Sorry, Dan Checker, old chumber buzz. Thanks for playing. Health insurance, welfare, and unemployment are universally available, but they're not well funded. In fact, the government only keeps them going through internal borrowing against better run programs. These three social programs are not self supporting, and they're just a matter of time before they go bankrupt. Of course. Excuse me. Trans-Polar Aleut Nation at a glance. Trans-Polar Aleut Nation covers the northernmost regions that once were Alaska, the Yukon, and Northwest Territories of North America. Northern areas of the Eastern Soviet Union and entirety of Greenland and Iceland. This nation also includes several million hectares of more or less permanent ice cap. Yeah, it's the roof of the world. The entire Trans-Polar Aleut Nation lies within the Arctic Circle, so the amount of light each day is extremes throughout the year. Several weeks in midsummer, the sun never completely goes below the horizon, and then of course, cream of spite whites. Midwinter, several weeks of continual night wreak havoc. Plane, trains, automobiles, and alternate transportation. Tribal demographics. history and culture. The tribe in perspective, the Aleut. Originally the only inhabitants of the Aleutian Islands, the Aleut. The economy, government, cost of living, of course. Then we got into our last entry. No. Laws, civil and tribal laws, international relations, general comments. General comments. It's often been said that the majority of the Trans-Polar Aleut Nation's population would neither gain nor lose if the nation succeeded from the Nan. In fact, they would not even notice a difference. That sentiment, unfortunately, is true. But the rest of the tribal nations would notice. We would notice because our strength lies in solidarity. We lost something intangible and valuable when the Tsimshian succeeded. We can only lose again the Trans-Polar Aleut Nation withdraws. The more you have, the more strong, the more you have, the more power you got, that kind of thing. That's the nist of all empires throughout history. At the end of the day, it's also one of the kernel foundations of fallacy that our modern or neo-modern development sort of stuff plays on. Only together can we be successful. Tsimshian Nation at a glance. The northern areas that once was British Columbia, including Queen Charlotte Islands and the south portion of the old Alaskan Panhandle, is now the Tsimshian Nation. The prevailing winds blow from the west almost year-round, creating moisture packed pricked up from the ocean, blah, blah. Right? Like I said, under Athabasca, the weather patterns around here are really hosed. Nobody seems to know why. Records from the early 1900s or 1990s and earlier show that the Charlottes didn't get as many real mother storms as they do now, and the cloud cover often broken during the summer for a couple of weeks at a time. Now, forget it, Timber. The 3 consecutive days of sun is a heat wave, and 4 is a miracle. Tsimshian is a gray, depressing, wet, depressing, cold, and stormy, depressing place. Walker, the weatherman. Right. Access, story and culture, history and culture, tribal demographics. Uh, the tribe in perspective. Well, the thing that they didn't include in either one of the book 1 or 2 was any kind of military or I always felt that there should have been an entry on at least the basic introduction as to these various nations' military capacity and capabilities, but there's none at all. And like I said, I want to say it shows up in another book, but don't quote me on that. I think that they dropped the ball a little bit on depth. I think on some of the stuff, but what do I know? Government. The Tsimshian Nation is nominally a democracy. In practice, however, a somewhat benevolent dictatorship rules. Elections are held every 5 years, but in the time since the country succeeded from Nan, it is likely no election has been either free or fair. The incumbent government has been in power since 2038. Fixed? How? Ballot stuffing? Strong arm tactics? Intimidation? No, nothing that asks Mort. Nothing that blatant balloting is electronic, and so anyone with access to a tabulating computer can alter the results to satisfaction. And because it's a government computer, well, you scan the rest. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that having some effect in real world scenarios. You know, yeah, they stole it. They stole it. They sure did. Civil and tribal laws, and we're gonna all pay for it too. It's not going to end well for America. No, sir. International relations, general comments. All right, a little bit of map work and stuff here, give you kind of a breakdown where things sit, where things are. Because you got, here's our wonderful little Seattle, and it's surrounded by this in the thick of the Sully Shade, so it's its own little nation city state or whatever. Then you have the various NANs that surround it. United Confederate American States. All right. Over here. Yeah, it's a messed up. Attention Shadowrunners. Get your hubris today. Yeah. This was printed in 1991. And I paid a whopping $12. $12 for this book in 1991. Anyway, I'm Rick. You're not. Have you guys have yourself a